Good everyone, I hope you guys have an amazing day. So what I'm going to do today, I'll show you how to use API in LWC component. You might, have a scenario where you wanted to fetch a data using API in LWC. So I'll just show you a simple code um, using which you can actually fetch the data um, within LWC. Though, what I'm going to demonstrate today is pretty simple. In real life scenario, you might have to deal with complex scenario, but this will get you started, right? So what I'm going to do, so this is just a small API, LWC I created. So when I do get activity fact, so I'm getting a data from a free API. So activity fact API. So if I do here, it says, oh, write a poem, right? It's to, so I got a, response from an API. So it's a pretty simple API, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to show today, how the code looks like. So this is a very pretty simple. Let's start with the HTML tag. Uh, that's the template one. So you have a template. So I've used the lightning card. Lightning card is like a container, right? So on which you can add different stuff to it. So I've used lightning card, and this is a div tag, and then I use this class. Then I'm checking if the template is true, displayed activity. Otherwise, no cat fact yet. I mean, it's just um, uh, a funny message. I can change it to something else. So I just, no cat fact. I was expecting to, get some cat fact. Sometimes, activities, it gives a random list. So I just put it for a. So from an HTML perspective, I hope this is pretty simple, right? I mean, so far you've seen different LWC components. So this template might look very familiar to you guys, right? As usual, it's template, right? And then if and else condition to render which part of template based on the boolean stuff, right? If you have a data, then it renders you. If not, then it shows you this. Then you have a button, right? And then I'm hooking an on-click event to that button, which is the JavaScript method. Okay, so now coming to your JavaScript code is pretty simple. So I've used this board API. It's a free API. It does not require you to have any auth or username and password. You can use it but you want. So what I've done, I'm calling that on-click in an async manner, in an asynchronous way. So if you're using asynchronous way, right? So you have to use await, otherwise it won't work. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm actually trying to get this API using this fetch method, right? So this is the response, right? So this is a fetch method. So you pass the API name and it gives you a response. And then based on response, I'm just doing response.json and then this.activity. So I should have done it a little bit better, So what I'm going to do today, this code is not very tidy. So you might have seen this code before. In the next episode, what I'm going to do, I will show you how to write a better version of this code. But just for now, for this episode, I just wanted to show you how you guys can actually fetch the data from an API in LWC. This is a simple way you can do that using a fetch query. And then once you get the fetch, then you have a response. And then you have a data.activity, which is the activity record. And that's it. Okay, now you must be wondering why I put this connected callback, right? So I don't usually have to do this, but for some reason, I have to do this in this org. Usually what happens is that when you're using um, API calls, right, you have to make sure that you put your change under, let me show you. You need to do two things to make it work. Otherwise, it will not work. It will complain you a trusted site error. The first thing, you need to go to remote site setting, right? And then you put your API here, board API. So I put this here. So you need to do that first. And then you have to go to CSP. Excuse me. Trusted site. And then I have to do this under trusted site to make it work. But for some reason in my org, it's not working, right? It's still complaining when I try to click on the button. it was giving me an error, right? Okay, cannot access the trusted site, whatever error, right? So to solve that, it's not really a great solution, but for now, what I've done that I just using this to setting a attribute to the meta, which is the document.create. So first of all, I define the CSV policy here. So like I said, set the CSV policy to allow connection to external API. So what I did, CSV, this is default SRC self, then the name of an API, then unsafe eval. It's not really great because I'm using unsafe eval, but just to demo you guys. So this is one way, but just you need to check it why the CSV is not working. In my case, for some reason, it's not working. But I've used this, I've used the API inside LWC before, so I don't really have to do this. But for this, just in case if it doesn't work, if you wanted to do a POC, then you can do this dirty stuff, right? So you did this, and then you're creating a document element, and then you're setting an attribute to the meta, that is content security policy, then set attribute CSV, and then document appending the the document appending the child. So that's pretty much I have to do to get this working. If I don't do this right, so what will happen is that it will fail. It will give me an error. So that's the reason why I did this. So yeah, I mean this is a pretty simple LWC, which I want to demonstrate. This is one way you can do it, but always remember one thing: you need to do that in async, because imagine if you have thousands of records, right? You can't do without async. It's just not really great. So you have to put in async, and then you have to put a spinner, a lightning spinner, so that the user can get an information that something is going on. Otherwise, if it's sitting there with a blank screen, user won't know. So we can do something in the next episode. I'll change this code. I'll add a spinner component, spinner to the HTML to show you how the code looks like, right? Okay, so that's pretty much I wanted to cover in this episode. Thank you. You have a great Wednesday. Adios.